तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and we are in the conversations of June 13, Saturday, 1885. And we go back a little. We go to page 784. Bengali, page 841. There is a subheading, Captain Air Charitra. So, English, Sri Ramakrishna told the devotees about his visit to Captain's house. Captain had criticized the young man who visited the master. Perhaps Hazra had poisoned his mind. Master, I was talking to Captain, I said, nothing exists except Purusha and Prakriti. Narada said to Rama, O Rama, all the men you see are parts of yourself and all the women are parts of Sita. Captain was highly pleased. He said, you alone have the right perception. All men are really Rama, being parts of Rama. All women are really Sita, being parts of Sita. So he added one more step. Being parts of Sita, they are really Sita, real nature. Amsha and real nature. Captain was, immediately after saying this, he began to criticize the young devotees. He said they study English books and don't discriminate about their food. It is not good that they should visit you frequently. It may do you harm. Pray. Hazra is a real man, a good fellow. Don't allow these young people to visit you so much. At first I said, what can I do if they come? Then I gave him some mortal blows. His daughter laughed. I said to him, God is far, far away from the worldly minded. But God is very near the man, nay, within a distance of 3 cubits, whose mind is free from worldliness. Speaking of Rakhal, Captain said, he eats with all sorts of people. Perhaps he had heard it from Hazra. Thereupon I said to him, a man may practice intense austerity and japa, but he won't achieve anything if his mind dwells on the world. But blessed is the man who keeps his mind on God, even though he eats pork. So here an important point, that external behavior don't judge a man. Spirituality does not depend upon anything external. What he eats, some fools may think that if you are not vegetarian, you are not religious. This concept came only after Buddha. Rishis were eating beef even, Rama Lakshmana were eating. So this is a nonsensical something, and Thakur is directly telling that. He's not advising us to eat pork, but spirituality is different from your eating habits. He will certainly realize God in due time. Hazara, with all his austerity and japa, doesn't allow an opportunity to slip by for earning money as a broker. So I should take Hazara seriously. He is a worldly minded. He has some spirituality plus worldly mindedness. Yes, yes, said Captain, you are right. I said to further, a few minutes ago you said that all men were parts of Rama and all women parts of Sita, and now you are talking like this, criticizing the envoy. Captain said, yes, that's true. But you don't love everybody. That means some people, good, bad comparison may be there. I said, according to scriptures, water is God. That means his love depends only on the amount of spirituality the boy has, not what he eats or drinks. I said, according to the scriptures, water is God. We see water everywhere, but some water we drink, some we bathe in, and some we use for washing dirty things. Here sit your wife and daughter. I see them as embodiments of the Blessed Mother. So his view is like this. Thereupon Captain said, yes, yes, that's true. He wanted to apologize by touching my feet. After speaking thus, Sri Ramakrishna laughed. Then he began to tell of Captain's many virtues. So laughed because Captain felt remorse and wanted to touch his feet. But saying all this, Thakur does not want to criticize the captain. So he says he has so many virtues. That is wonderful about Thakur. After Then he began to tell of Captain's many virtues. Master, Captain has many virtues. Every day he attends to his devotions. He himself performs the worship of the family deity. How many mantras he recites while bathing the image. He is a great ritualist. He performs his daily devotions such as worship, japa, arati, recital of the scriptures, and chanting of hymns. Now, within that also, I scolded Captain and said, too much reading has spoiled you. Don't read anymore. Now from here, new thing. About my own spiritual state, Captain said, your soul like a bird is ready to fly. There are two entities. Jivatma, now, Captain saying is only this sentence. Rest Thakur is telling. About my own spiritual state, Captain said, your soul like a bird is ready to fly. Now Thakur himself is telling there are two entities, Jivatma, the embodied soul, and Paramatma, the supreme soul. The embodied soul is the bird. The supreme soul is like the Akasha. It is the Chidakasha, the Akasha of consciousness. So you have to understand this term. Akasha means space. Everything that we see we see in space. That is called the Mathakash or Mahakash, is outside space. Now in our mind we think thoughts, we imagine, we see so many things settle. So that we see in Chitta Akash. Chitta, the tranquil state of the mind, that there is a space there and there we see. Now we want to see our own reality. So our own reality is Chaitanya. And it cannot be seen in space. It is seen in itself. So it is called Chit Akash. Because others Akasha, so that is also called Akasha. Chit Akasha, the space of consciousness. Consciousness itself as space. Because we see the consciousness in consciousness, in nothing else. The embodied soul is the bird. The supreme soul is like the Akasha. It is the Chidakasha, the Akasha of consciousness. Captain said your embodied soul flies into the Akasha of consciousness. Thus you go into Samadhi. Bird is soul, it flies into. So that is Samadhi. Smiling. He criticized the Bengalis. He said, the Bengalis are fools. They have a gem near them, but they cannot recognize it. He is talking of Thakur only, that gem near them. Captain's father was a great devotee. He was a Subedar in the English army, one of the ranks. Even on the battlefield, he would perform his worship at the proper time. With one hand, he would worship Shiva, and with the other, he would wield his gun and sword. It's a great duty. 2M. But captain is engaged in worldly duties day and night. So all sides we are seeing. Huh? Whenever I go to his house, I see him surrounded by his wife and children. Besides, his men bring him their account books now and then. But at times his mind dwells on God also. It is like the case of a typhoid patient who is always in a delirium. Now and then he gets a flash of consciousness and cries out, I want a drink of water, I want a drink of water. But while you are giving him the water, he becomes unconscious again and is not aware of anything. That mixture is showing in Captain. I said to Captain, you are a ritualist. He said, yes, I feel very happy while performing worship and things like that. Worldly people have no other way. So he accepts himself as worldly people, and so he is not beyond the karma level, though he understands Sakur Samadhi, etc. I said to him, but must one perform formal worship forever? You have to progress from formal worship to love of God, experience of God. How long does a bee buzz about? As long as it hasn't lighted on a flower. While sipping honey, it doesn't buzz. But he said, can we, like you, give up worship and other rituals? Yet he doesn't always say the same thing. Sometimes he says that all this is inert, sometimes that all this is consciousness. I say, what do you mean by inert? Everything is Chaitanya, consciousness. So, because sometimes his vision is like that, sometimes his imagination is like that, seeing Thakur. So that is about Captain. Sri Ramakrishna asked him about Purna. Master, if I see Purna once more, then my longing for him will diminish. How intelligent he is, his mind is, because that eagerness, now that relationship will get established. How intelligent he is, his mind is much drawn to me. He says, I too feel a strange sensation in my heart for you. Thakur feels restless for him, he feels restless for Thakur. To him, they have taken him away from your school. Will that harm you? Master Masha is instrumental in bringing Purna to Thakur. Then Purna may not be so serious about his studies, or people might have noticed that Master Masha is the problem, so they have taken him away from his school. So will that not harm you? M. If Vidyasagar school, it was Vidyasagar school. If Vidyasagar tells me that Purna relatives have taken him away from the school on my account, I have an explanation to give him. Master, what will you say? I shall say that one thinks of God in holy company. That is by no means bad. Further, I shall tell him that the textbook prescribed by the school authorities say that one should love God with all one's soul. So what wrong I am doing? The master laughs. Master says, this is only they write in books, they don't follow it. Master, at captain's house, I sent for the younger Naren. I said to him, where is your house? I want to see it. Please do come, he said. But he became nervous as we were going there, lest his father should know about it. So he wants to go, but problem, Allah, to a visitor. So some new visitor, unnamed visitor, you haven't been here for a long time, about 7 or 8 months. Visitor, about a year, sir. Master, another gentleman used to come with you? Visitor, yes, sir, Nil Mani Babu. Master, why doesn't he come anymore? Ask him to come sometime. I want to see him. So Thakur has found some spirituality in Nilmani Babu, and so he wants to see him. Who is this boy with you? Visitor. He comes from Assam. Master, where is Assam? In which direction? So Thakur shows his total ignorance about things of the world because they are unreal. Dvija spoke to the master about Ashu. Ashu's father was arranging for his marriage, but Ashu had no wish to marry. So some friend of Dvija called Ashu, his name might not be mentioned in the gospel. Ashu. He met Thakur for first time at the age of 22. He used to go to Thakur privately and express himself to him. In the old age, Ashutosh used to go to Master Masha and discuss with him. Seeing Thakur's bhav, he had become specially attracted to him. Gradually, he had surrendered completely at the lotus feet of Thakur. That is Ashu. Dvija spoke to Thakur about Ashu. Ashu's father was arranging for his marriage, but Ashu had no wish to marry. Master, see, he doesn't want to marry. They are forcing him. Sri Ramakrishna said to a devotee that he should show respect to his elder brother. He said, the elder brother is like one's father. Respect him. A Pandit was sitting with the devotees. He came from Upper India. What is Upper India? You know? In the map, we show north side up, south side down. So from North India, it's become Upper India, map-wise. In India, what is upper and lower? Is that upper? Master, smiling to him, the Pandit is a great student of the Bhagavata. M and the devotees looked at the Pandit. Master to the Pandit, well, sir, what is Yoga Maya? The Pandit gave some sort of explanation. But that was not correct. So Master asked, Why isn't Radhika called Yogamaya? The Pandit also answered this question after a fashion. So something he is telling. Master, Radhika is full of unmixed sattva, the embodiment of prema. Yogamaya contains all the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. But Radhika is nothing but pure sattva. So Thakur himself has analytically answered to him. Narendra now respects Radhika very much. Great transformation has come in Narendra, great. He says that if anyone wants to know how to love Satchidananda, he can learn it from her. Intense love, nothing but love. That is how to learn to experience Satchidananda. Satchidananda wanted to taste divine bliss for itself. That is why it created Radha. She was created from the person of Satchidananda Krishna. Satchidananda Krishna is the container and himself is the form of Radha, is the content. Container and content is the appearance, both he is. So Radhika and Krishna are identical. He manifested himself in that way in order to taste his own bliss. That is to say, in order to experience divine bliss by loving Satchidananda. So Krishna is Satchidananda, but how Radha enjoys him, that he wants to see. So he has become Radha and Krishna, that is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Therefore, it is written in the Vaishnava books that after her birth, Radhika did not open her eyes. The idea is that she did not wish to see any human being. Yashoda came with Krishna in her arms to see Radhika. Only then did she open her eyes to behold Krishna. In a playful mood, Krishna touched her eyes. To the Assamese boy, haven't you seen this? Small children touch others' eyes with their hands. The Pandit was about to take leave of Sri Ramakrishna. Pandit, I must go home. Master tenderly, have you earned anything? Pandit, the market is very dull. I have earned nothing. A few minutes later, he saluted the master and departed. Master to him, you see how great the difference is between worldly people and the youngsters. The Pandit has been worrying about money day and night. He has come to Calcutta to earn money. Otherwise, his people at home will have nothing to eat. So he has to knock at different doors. When will he concentrate his mind on God? But the youngsters are untouched by woman and God. Hence, they can direct their mind to God whenever they desire. The youngsters do not enjoy worldly people's company. Rakhal used to say, I feel nervous at the sight of the worldly minded. When I was first beginning to have spiritual experiences, I used to shut the doors of my room when I saw worldly people coming. Now what has happened? He has overgrown that. As a boy at Kamarpukur, I loved Ram Malik dearly. But afterwards, when he came here, I couldn't even touch him. Rama Malik and I were great friends during our boyhood. We were together day and night. We slept together. At that time, I was 16 or 17 years old. People used to say if one of them were a woman, they would marry each other. Both of us used to play at his house. I remember those days very well. His relatives used to come riding in palanquins, so must be rich people. Now he has a shop at Chanak. I sent for him many a time. He came here the other day and spent 2 days. Rama said he had no children. He brought up his nephew, but the boy died. He told me this with a sigh. In tears, he was grief-stricken for his nephew. He said further that since they had no children of their own, All his wife's affection had been turned on the nephew. She was completely overwhelmed with grief. Ram said to her, "You are crazy. What will you gain by grieving? Do you want to go to Banaras?" You see, he called his wife crazy. Grief for the boy totally diluted him. I found he had no stuff in him. I couldn't touch him. So great change has happened. The Brahmin lady still stood near the north door. She was a widow. Her only daughter had been married to a very aristocratic man, a landlord in Calcutta, with the title of Raja. Whenever the daughter visited her, she was escorted by liveried footmen. Then the mother's heart swelled with pride. Just a few days ago, the daughter had died, and now she was beside herself with sorrow. So that is what has happened. The Brahmin lady listened to the account of Ramali's grief for his nephew. For the last few days, she had been running to the master from her house at Bagbazar like an insane person. She was eager to know whether Sri Ramakrishna could suggest any remedy for her unquenchable grief. Sri Ramakrishna resumed the conversation. Master, a man came here the other day. He sat a few minutes and then said, "Let me go and see the moon face of my child." I couldn't control myself and said, "So you prefer your son's moon face to God's moon face? Get out, you fool." So, worldly people, that is what happened to him. The truth is that God alone is real and all else unreal. Hmm. That is the truth. Huh? Men, universe, house, children, all these are like the magic of the magician. The magician strikes his wand and says, "Come delusion, come confusion." Then he says to the audience, "Open the lid of the pot, see the birds fly into the day sky." But the magician alone is real and his image magic unreal. The unreal exists for a second and then vanishes. That is a test of the unreal. Shiva was seated in Kailash. His companion Nandi was near him. Suddenly a terrific noise arose. "Revered sir," asked Nandi, "what does that mean?" Shiva said, "Ravana is born." That is its meaning. A few moments later, another terrific noise was heard. "Now what is this noise?" Nandi asked. Shiva said with a smile, "Now Ravana is dead." Birth and death are like magic. You see the magic for a second and then it disappears. So, what was not there, what will not be there, is not there now also. It disappears. It appears, but it disappears. God alone is real and all else unreal. Water alone is real. Its bubbles appear and disappear. They disappear into the very water from which they rise. So this is the all-pervading nature of God. God is like an ocean and living beings are like its bubbles. They are born there and they die there. Children are like the few small bubbles around a big one. Big one, small one. That's all the difference in Chandi. God alone is real. How many times he is repeating that? Make an effort to cultivate love for him and find out the means to realize him. What will you gain by grieving? All sat in silence. The Brahmin lady said, "May I go home now?" Hmm. Where we lost it? June 13. We lost it. Huh. It is very hard. Why now? You can go later in a carriage with the devotees who wanted to go. Brahmin lady. Achha, huh. Because the day was so hot, a devotee gave the master a new fan made of sandalwood. He was very much pleased and said, "Good, good. Om Tat Sat Kali." First, he fanned the pictures of the gods and goddesses, and then he fanned him. You understand? Om Tat Sat. All these three are names of Brahman. So, before using a fan, he wanted to have the consciousness that the fan is nothing but a form of Satchidananda. One point. Second point, first, offer everything to God. So in his room there were images of gods and goddesses. He fanned them by the fan and then himself. That is the perfect form in which a devotee should touch anything. He said to him, "See, feel the breeze." M was highly pleased. M must have given that. Captain arrived with his children. Sri Ramakrishna said to Kishori, "Please show the temples to the children." Because they will not be interested. He began to talk to Captain. M. Dvija and the other devotees were sitting on the floor. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on the small coach facing the north. This is for our visualization. He asked Captain to sit in front of him on the same coach. Master, I was telling the devotees about you, your devotion, worship, and arati. Captain, bashfully. What do I know of worship and arati? How insignificant I am. Because being praised, he felt ashamed. Master, only the ego that is attached to woman and gold is harmful. But the ego that feels it is the servant of God does no harm to anybody. So you need not feel contracted. Neither does the ego of a child, which is not under the control of any guru, any guna. One moment children quarrel, and the next moment they are on family terms. One moment they build their toy houses with great care, and immediately afterward they knock them down. There is no harm in the I consciousness that makes one feel oneself to be a child of God or a servant. This ego is really no ego at all. It is like sugar candy, which is not like other sweets. Ego, but not ego. Other sweets make one ill, but sugar candy relieves acidity. Or take the case of Om, it is unlike other sound. It is also a sound, but totally different. With this kind of ego, one is able to love Satchidananda. It is impossible to get rid of the ego. Therefore, it should be made to feel that it is the devotee of God, his servant. Otherwise, how can one live? How intense was the love of the gopis for Krishna to Captain? Please tell us something about the gopis. You read the Bhagavata so much. Captain, when Sri Krishna lived at Vrindavan without any of his royal splendor, even then the gopis loved him more than their own souls. Therefore, Sri Krishna said, "How shall I be able to pay off my debt to the gopis who surrender to me their bodies, minds and souls. Captain's words awakened intense love for Krishna in the master's mind. He exclaimed, Govinda, 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 and was about to go into an ecstatic mood. Captain was amazed and said, how blessed he is, how blessed he is. Captain and the devotees watched the love ecstasy of Sri Ramakrishna. They sat quietly gazing at him, awaiting his return to the consciousness of the world. Master, tell us more. Captain, Sri Krishna is unattainable by the yogis, by yogis like you, but he can be attained by lovers like the gopis. How many years did the gopis practice yoga for him, his vision? Yet they did not succeed. But how many years did the yogis practice yoga for his vision? Yet they did not succeed. But the gopis realized him with such ease. Master smiling. Yes, he ate from the hands of the gopis, wept for them, played with them, and made many demands on them out of love. A devotee, Bankim has written a life of Krishna, that Bankim Chandra had come to Thakur. Master, he accepts Krishna but not Radhika. Thakur already had heard from his book, so he knows. Captain, I see, he doesn't accept Krishna's Leela with the gopis. Master, I also hear that Bankim says that one needs passions such as lust. So, worldly people's knowledge. A devotee, he has written in his magazine that the purpose of religion is to give expression to our various faculties, physical, mental, and spiritual. Whatever is there, we have to express. Captain, I see. He believes that lust and so forth are necessary, but he doesn't believe that Sri Krishna could enjoy his sportive pleasure in the world, that God could incarnate himself in a human form and sport in Vrindavan with Radha and the gopis. That he does not believe and wants that everybody should marry. Master smiling. But these things are not written in the newspaper. How could he believe them? So, Western educated people become so much influenced that if it is in the newspaper, then it's all right. No other way. He is explaining. A man said to his friend, yesterday, as I was passing through a certain part of the city, I saw a house fall with a crash. Wait, said the friend, let me look it up in the newspaper. But this incident wasn't mentioned in the paper. Thereupon the man said, but the paper doesn't mention it. His friend replied, I saw it with my own eyes. Be that as it may, said the man, I can't believe it as long as it isn't in the paper. So that is what has happened to the Indians now. How can Bankim know? How can Bankim believe that God sports about as a man? He doesn't get it from the English education. It is very hard to explain how God truly incarnates himself as man. Isn't that so? The manifestation of infinity in the human body only 3.5 cubits tall. So our idea of infinity becomes physical. Infinity, how can it be in this body? Captain, Krishna is God himself. In describing him, we have to use such terms as whole and part, because a person is seen. Master, whole and part are like fire and its sparks, not real independent spark. And the incarnation of God is for the sake of the bhaktas and not of the jnanis. It is said in the Adhyatma Ramayana that Rama alone is both the pervading spirit and everything pervaded. Adar Ade both. You are the Supreme Lord distinguished as the Vachaka, the signifying symbol, and the Vacha, the object signified. God Himself is both. Captain, the signifying symbol means the pervader, and the object signified means the thing pervaded. He puts it in philosophy. Master, the pervader in this case is a finite form. It is God incarnating Himself as a human being. So that we should not lose sight of. Sri Ramakrishna was talking thus to Captain and the devotees when Jai Gopal Sen and Trilokya of the Brahma Samaj arrived. They both belong to Brahma Samaj. They saluted the master and sat down. Sri Ramakrishna looked at Trilokya with a smile and continued the conversation. Master, it is on account of the ego that one is not able to see God. In front of the door of God's mansion lies the stump of ego. One cannot enter the mansion without jumping over the stump, transcending. There was once a man who had acquired the power to tame ghosts. One day at his summons, a ghost appeared. The ghost said, "Now tell me, what you want me to do? The moment you cannot give me any work, I shall break your neck." The man had many things to accomplish, and he had the ghost to do. Okay. Now, said the ghost, no. At last he could find nothing more for the ghost to do. Now, said the ghost, I am going to break your neck. Wait a minute, said the man. I shall return presently. He ran to his teacher and said, Revered sir, I am in great danger. This is my trouble. And he told his teacher that his trouble, and he told his teacher his troubles, and he asked, what shall I do now? The teacher said, do this. Tell the ghost to straighten this kinky hair. The ghost devoted itself day and night to straighten the hair. But how could it, under a kinky hair straight, the hair remained kinky. Likewise, the ego seems to vanish this moment, but it reappears the next. Unless one renounces the ego, one does not receive the grace of God. That is the problem. Suppose there is a forest feast in a house, and the master of the house puts a man in charge of the store. As long as the man remains in the storeroom, the master doesn't go there. But when of his own will he renounces the storeroom, and goes away. Then that doorkeeper, but when of his own will he renounces the storeroom and goes away, then the master locks it and takes charge of it himself. A guardian is appointed only for a minor. A boy cannot safeguard his property, therefore the king assumes responsibility for him. God does not take over our responsibilities unless we renounce our ego. So, minor, child, egoless. A gentleman is appointed only for a minor. A boy cannot safeguard his property. Therefore, the king assumes responsibility for him. God does not take over our responsibility unless we renounce our ego. Once Lakshmi and Narayana were seated in Vaikuntha. When Narayana suddenly stood up, Lakshmi had been stroking his feet. She said, Lord, where are you going? Narayana answered, one of my devotees is in great danger. I must save him. With these words, he went out. But he came back immediately. Lakshmi said, Lord, why you have returned so soon? Narayana smiled and said, the devotee was going along the road overrun with love for me. Some washermen were drying clothes on the grass, and the devotee walked over the clothes. At this, the washermen chased him and were going to beat him with their sticks. So I ran out to protect him. But why have you come back? Asked Lakshmi. Narayana laughed and said, I saw the devotee himself picking up a brick to throw at them. Allah, so I came back. So when a man surrenders to God, then God takes care. Otherwise, self-effort. I said to Keshav, you must renounce your ego. Keshav replied, if I do, how can I keep my organization together? So that is the point where people get lost. I said to him, how slow you are to understand. I am not asking you to renounce the ripe ego, the ego that makes a man feel he is a servant of God or his devotee. Give up the unripe ego, the ego that creates attachment to woman and gold, the ego that makes a man feel he is God's servant. His child is a ripe ego. He doesn't harm one. Oh, the ego that makes a man feel he is God's servant, his child, is the ripe ego. It doesn't harm him, harm one. Okay. If our identity is thrust on God, then there is no problem. Trailokya. It is very difficult to get rid of the ego. People only think they are free from it. Okay. We stop here today. Enough we are read. We'll take it up tomorrow. Om Tava Kathāmritam Tapta Jivanam Kaviviridhitam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadaatatam Bhuigrudanti Ye Bhurida Jana Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.